I bought the cheapest possible soda maker I could find on Amazon. This was $39 from SimpliSoda. This featherweight machine, I'm gonna test against a cheap budget SodaStream model, as well as a premium ARC Carbonator 3 to see, does it actually matter if you buy a more expensive soda maker or not? Do we actually save any CO2 costs? Do we get more bubbles? That's what we're gonna find out in this video, so stick around. First thing we're gonna test is we're gonna try to do a max carbonation test. We're gonna load up a new CO2 cylinder. We've got some chilled water here, and then we're gonna see how much CO2 we can actually get into the device. We'll use the CO2 measuring device, see how many volumes of CO2 we actually get. And then the number of volumes of CO2 that dissolve into the water is that tingly, bubbly taste that you get. The higher that number is, the more tingly, the more bubbles, the more CO2 that you get into there. We'll also measure how much CO2 we actually use. So we'll measure the weight of our CO2 cylinder before we carbonate and then the weight after. So we can see how efficient the machine is at taking carbonation from our cylinder and actually dissolving it into our drink. All right, so we've got a new cylinder here that's completely full. SimpliSoda uses the standard screw-in CO2 cylinders, so not like SodaStream has the new pink quick connect ones. So it just uses a standard cylinder. We're gonna screw it in here like this. Okay, sounds like that's doing something. So, and before we do that, I'm gonna do a few measurements. Let's take out the CO2 cylinder to measure this. And we are at 1132 grams. Let's write that down. All right, so we're gonna start with our CO2 cylinder. And it's at 1132 grams. And actually I wanna get the weight of this as well. So with the cap, we're gonna weigh just our water, and that's at 1012. 1012, so that's our water. Now we have all our measurements to start the carbonation process. And again, I'm gonna try to max this out as much as I can. So this is the first time using this device. Let's screw it in here. Okay, that seems tight. Okay, seems to be a natural point to let it go. There's a decent amount of air kind of coming around, but okay, I think this seems pretty well maxed out. I doubt we're getting much more in. There's no pressure there or anything. It smells like we got some good bubbles in there. Let's weigh our water first. I've got that right here. And that is now at 1021. So we were at 1012 and now we're at 1021. So we net added, 9 grams of CO2 in. Now let's do our CO2 cylinder. Okay, and this comes in at 1094. So I may have overdone that because we used 38 grams from our cylinder to get 9 grams into our water. That's not a great efficiency ratio for sure. We should test just like a 3-push test. We'll do that next. But let's see also what we got in our carbonation test here. So this will measure our pressure and temperature. Obviously, we'll lose a little bit of CO2 pouring that there. That's why we'll give it a little shake once we get in here. And so with this, we have a carbonation calculator. It's at 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're gonna write that down. So we got 50 degrees Fahrenheit and a pressure of 27 PSI. 27 PSI. I'm gonna actually do a little taste test on this too because, yeah, that's very carbonated. That's very bubbly. That's good. That was maxing this thing out. That's probably close to 4. Let me do a quick calculation here. So I have a handy dandy carbonation calculator on sodascott.com that I use. So I'm just gonna open up that real quick. 50 temperature, 27 PSI. Oh, okay. That's only a volume of 3.25. So I mean, it is good. But for trying to max it out, which I mean, that was using a lot of CO2. You know, I was able to get, to be fair, with boiled water, but I was able to get over 4 volumes of CO2, 4.11, I believe, with the SodaStream maxed out. So this was definitely, I didn't want to put any more into this because I mean, we used 38 grams just to get 9. So this got us 3.25 volumes of CO2. That's a nice mouthfeel. A can of soda is usually around, 3, like a Diet Coke is around 3 volumes of CO2. So this tastes good. Let's just do a quick efficiency test looking at a much more spendier device, the Carbonator 3. So we've got our chilled water. We're gonna do the same measurements. We're gonna measure our water in, water weight, which is 1,012. Measure our CO2. That is one of the downsides of the ARC 3 is that grill that always falls off. All right, we're at 916 grams there. Now I've tested this before, but it's always good to make sure everything is as remembered. So we've got our weight before. Just screw this in. Now the ARC 3 is a good comparison in some ways because clearly the design was taken or borrowed a bit from the ARC Carbonator 3, which is just a gorgeous machine and heavy and metal. It's kind of the exact opposite of this machine. It's not cheap. It's not plastic. Let's do we'll do three pulls here and so we were at 1,012 grams before with our cap. And we are at 1,019. So that means we got 7 grams of CO2 in, which is gonna be a nice level of bubbles for sure, I bet. Now let's see how much we use to get that 7 grams. Our CO2 cylinder is now at 900 grams. So we did use 16 grams, but I think this really shows the efficiency difference, right, between a higher quality machine and a very cheap one. To get 7 grams in, we only spent 16, so a little over 2, but significantly better efficiency ratio, closer to 2 versus closer to 4 that we saw with both of our tests in the SimpliSoda / Philips / very cheap Alibaba machine here. It was only $39, but you're gonna spend a lot of CO2, it looks like, using this machine. Let's do a quick CO2 volume test as well on this, but just looking at this, I can tell this is a nice level of fizz. All right, so this is 42 degrees and 23 PSI. So water was a little bit colder, but 23 PSI, that's a 3.3 volume of CO2. So that's higher than we got doing the max, and this was just doing 3 pulls, which is, on the higher end for the ARC, but it's not maxing it out for sure. So much more efficient. So we got a higher level of bubbles using only 16 grams from our cylinder versus having to use 38 to get roughly the same amount from the SimpliSoda, the cheap, $39 machine. So another negative about this soda maker is it's very difficult, maybe even impossible, to directly connect to a larger tank like this 5-pound tank that I have. So the only way for making soda at home to be really actually economical is to refill your own tanks, either from a 20-pound tank into the smaller cylinders, or to directly connect. Like, this is my favorite direct connection tank size. This is a 5-pound tank. You can get this for $60, $70, $80 online, and then fill this up for 20 bucks. And this will last, 4 to 5 cylinders worth. So you get a much better deal. You end up paying $3, $4 per cylinder instead of 15. So the problem with this is to actually get to the connection point, you have to string it up there and screw it in. It's very, very challenging, nay, almost impossible. At least with the ARC, there's a way to disassemble this top part here and connect to it easier, so you don't have to go through all the way from the bottom. So in the SodaStream, doing a direct connection is really simple because you can go in right here and then connect through the bottom and string that right through the bottom like so. So you can string this right through and directly connect very easily to a larger tank here. So I just really can't recommend this cheap soda maker at all. The Terra just make things really easy to directly connect. It's a much better machine. You're gonna get an efficiency that's 3 times better than this one. So, and you can pick up the Terra for, you can get one of these on sale sometimes for 50, 60 bucks. So yeah, it's not $39, but this is just, I honestly am gonna take this thing apart because it's just a piece of junk. And I'm sorry, SimpliSoda, but this is also, I'm 99% sure the Philips soda maker is this exact or very similar model or same factory in China that makes this one. You can also get this on Alibaba for about $11. Don't buy this style of cheap soda maker. It's really just, it's not worth the price. You're gonna lose so much CO2. It's just not worth the lower price cost. So go with the Terra if you wanna go in the SodaStream family, or go with the Arc if you want to get something a little more premium that also uses the standard screw-in CO2 cylinders. Either one of these are a much, much better option than this piece of junk.